Mr. Canellis, if you can call the roll.
Ms. Calvez,
Here.
Ms. Carasola,
Here.
Ms. Carr,
Here.
Mr. Corey, Mr. Hayward,
Here.
Ms. Scarpelli,
Here.
Ms. Stevenson,
Here.
Ms. Rundell,
Here.
Dr. Robinson.
All right, present. Hold on. Just trying
Dr. Robinson?
to- Oh, present.
We have a quorum.
All right. Ed, if you're able to do the flag salute for us, please.
My pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Ms. Carr, if you're able to read our mission statement? Oh, no.
Thanks. The Glen Rock School District, founded on principles of education, in partnership with the supportive community, provides an exceptional education to all students to cultivate resilient, responsible, and engaged global citizens.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. Adequate notice of meeting. In accordance with PL 1975, Chapter 231, notice of tonight's meeting was mailed to the Record and the Ridgewood News on January 9th, 2024. Notice of this meeting was also mailed to the Borough Clerk and was posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office in the Administration Building on the same date. Copies of the procedures in effect for regular board meetings are available for public at tonight's meeting. All right.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. We're going to just jump around a little bit because I know that Mr. Helder and the choir have to get right back to rehearsals. So we have some Glen Rock Choir and band recognitions, including students that earned All Bergen County Choir and All Bergen County Band, and also North Jersey Region 1 Band and New Jersey All-State Band. So Mr. Helder, come on up.
Mr. Elder.
Mr. Helder.
Hello, everyone. These are some of the most talented musicians here at Glen Rock High School in singing and in instrumental music. And let's see, Julia here, and Maggie, and Charlie, and Emma, and also Ella were with the audition for our Bergen County Choir this year, and were accepted to that group, and they performed with them in January. And on Devin over here in the blue. She is a wonderful flute player, and she represented our school at the all-county band concert. And Olivia has been working very hard and will continue to work hard into the fall because she was accepted to the North Jersey Region 1 Band and Orchestra, and also New Jersey All-State Band and Orchestra. So a wonderful bunch of kids, and I'm happy to present them to you tonight.
Then we'll go back in order of the agenda. We have our student council representative, Shreya, so we'd love to hear your report.
Good evening, everyone. My report's kind of long today, so bear with me. The end of January and the beginning of February commenced the beginning of market period 3. That means for the seniors applying to their college, their mid-year grade reports have been sent out to all schools. Course scheduling meetings have also been going on for the current junior class. The sophomores, freshmen, and rising freshmen are to follow. This month, the Beauty and the Beast musical took place, and it was a very successful production. This month has also brought much success to the sports teams. So the wrestling team had much success at the District 3 wrestling tournament. Jake Rickett became the first Glen Rock wrestler to win a district title since 2013, with this championship win in the 285-pound weight class. He will be attending the state tournament. Adrian Galvez took second place, and Nick Tufano, Rohi Hubert, and Johnny Eames all took third place in the tournament. On February 15th, the varsity hockey team successfully played in the state conference finals. The winter track team has also had a successful season. The boys team won the Bergen County Relays for small schools, along with many other individual accomplishments, such as Tyler Caswell, who is currently in his junior year, who won the NJIC 55 hurdles and the Bergen County Championship with a time of 7.53 seconds, breaking the school record. He was also voted the Bergen Record Athlete of the Week. Lastly, Tyler, along with Isabella Samu, who is currently a sophomore, made history by being the only North Jersey runner to win state group meet in the same event from the same school. On Saturday, February 10th, the Glen Rock Robotics program held a home competition at the high school. They made states, and they will be attending on March 17th. Lastly, on Thursday, February 22nd, the high school hosted team hosted a blood drive with the New York Blood Drive that ran throughout the school day in the high school gym. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the boys basketball team just won their game.
Thank you, Shreya. The girls are playing now.
I just want to quickly acknowledge that I saw the play. It was amazing. I mean, by far one of the best ones that I've ever seen. And I sat there wide-mouthed or jaw-dropping just because the singing, the acting, the choreographer, Fee was just so kudos and congrats to them.
Okay,
May I add
moving on.
something?
Oh, sorry, yes.
And also shout out to the robotics team. I went to the competition. Loved that they're going to states, and congratulations to all those sporting teams and making history with track. That's really great. But I was able to attend robotics, and I just love every time I learn something new. So thanks.
We'll be bringing the robotics team, I think, at the March 18th meeting for recognition, and then also the winter athletes, I think, at that meeting as well. So we'll have them lined up for that. The reason we didn't bring robotics yet is probably similar with the athletes, is that they're still competing and have a chance for a state championship. Moving on, we have Mr. Paul Cusack, who's our supervisor of instructional and educational technology, and Mr. Cusack will be speaking to us about Glen Rock school news and Ms. Carousel's favorite show, Charleston in Charge, Season 2. And we'll be, I guess before they start, as the board's aware, several years ago, we had built this TV studio without much of an idea of what we were going to do with it. And I think Mr. Cusack, along with Ms. V, have really done a nice job in building the program. So I do thank you for that, and I look forward to your presentation tonight.
Good evening. As Dr. Charleston said, my name is Paul Cusack, Supervisor of Educational Instructional Technology and Media Centers. Unfortunately, Ms. Verlbeck, or Ms. V as the kids call her, is unable to be here tonight. She's not feeling well. So I just want to talk a little bit about, as Dr. Charleston said, 2020, the TV studio was started. It was finished in the December of 2020. And we had an older program that was running 2 different media classes. Last year was the first year that we ran 3 brand new programs. We had Intro to TV and Media Broadcast 2, and Media Broadcast 3, which is a full year course. So we really reimagined what the program would look like. We have 2 flagship programs that come out of it, the GR News, which runs every Friday. Students from all levels contribute to that. And then we have our Charleston in Charge. All these programs are student-driven, and they're student-directed, they're student-run. Ms. V starts out working with the kids in level 1, but they develop the skills as they move on to be able to run these entire shows. Charleston in Charge last year was pitched by the students to Dr. Charleston. They write the scripts, they come up with the who's going to be interviewed, what the topics are going to be, and the format for the show. GR News runs every Friday. We have 2 lead anchors. We'll introduce them in a little while, but they're both here tonight. They do a great job. And GR News is kind of a combination of, as I said, all 3 levels, but it's also part of the media club. So there are a lot of students who contribute to both of these programs. We do have some things that we're working on, hopefully for next year, that are really exciting. But what I'd like to do right now is call up one of our anchors, Julia, if you don't mind coming up. She's going to say a couple of words about the program, and then we'll introduce the students. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Charleston and Ms. Vrablick, for honoring us on behalf of our excellence in media. I would like to talk about my engagement with the media department at Glen Rock High School. I began my high school experience a little differently, as I attended an all-girls private school during my freshman and sophomore years. While I did enjoy my time there, I knew that by transferring to Glen Rock, I would be able to further my love for broadcast journalism and hone my skills. The faculty, staff, and equipment available surpassed my expectations. In my junior year, I took Broadcast Media 2 and learned how to produce content and pitch a show concept. My biggest accomplishment during this time was Hot Rock, a Glen Rock spin-off of the show Hot Ones, where administration and students were given a choice: spill their hot takes and answer difficult questions, or eat incredibly spicy foods. For this project, my classmates and I used multiple editing softwares, such as Adobe Premiere Pro and Canva. This year, in my TV3 class, I have worked directly with Dr. Charleston on Season 2 of Charleston in Charge. Along with help from my classmates, I have directed, produced, and edited episodes. I'm also vice president of the Media Club, where we produce GR News, an entirely student-run news show that strives to bring national and local current events engagingly to all students. I am so thankful for this program and all that it has allowed me to accomplish. I'm currently in the process of applying to colleges, and I intend to major in broadcast journalism. While reviewing each school's curriculum and classes, I have noticed that they are identical to what I have already taken at Glen Rock High School. In 10 years, when I win my Emmy, I will make sure to thank Ms. V and Dr. Charleston for giving me creative freedom and the confidence I have needed to succeed as a freshman in college. But in all seriousness, from my involvement, I know I will be more than prepared for what lies ahead in both my higher education and career. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so, Kevin. All right, so now we will be calling up students to receive their certificates. So we'll be starting from there.
First off, we have Thomas Petratus.
Okay. The next student is Colleen Martin.
Next up, we have Jason Simon.
Next up, we have Michael Hayward.
Now we have Maya Gottlieb.
Next up is Connor Bradsby's.
Nathan Delibero.
Up next is Nikhil Lawani.
Next up, we have Ben Razor.
It's okay. Just in this head. We'll share it with Kenzie. We'll share it with Kenzie. Next up is Matt Antibi. We share it with Kenzie. We share it with Kenzie.
Next up is Poppy Ushawagenzi.
And finally, Josh Yang. We'll take ours as well. Yes. All right, we're gonna hop in. Do you want to talk about Charleston Charles a little bit? All right. Gavin, come here. This is your Williams. So this is. All right. I'll like introduce them. Go first. All right. So these next group of students have worked. They've been heavily involved with Charleston in Charge. So we're going to start calling up names for that. The first name is Eamon Smith.
Next up is Brady Peck.
The next student is Colin Robinson.
Next up, we have Ava Sarah. She could not attend tonight, but she's with us in spirit.
And then the final student is Richie Pucci.
Okay, next we have Ms. Stella Fortuna, who's our anti-bullying coordinator, who will be presenting our biannual mandated HIB training and programs. So Ms. Stella Fortuna, the floor is yours. And everybody else, you're more than welcome to sneak out. We won't take offense to that. Have a good night. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. As Dr. Charleston mentioned, I'm going to be going over the mandatory reporting after reporting period 1. Reporting period 1 runs from September through December. So first, just a review of our anti-bullying specialists. We have 1 in each building. We do have 2 new specialists this year, and they have gone through their training. Our specialists meet with myself throughout the school year. In the fall in particular, I attended a law update workshop and then turned KETAT to the specialists. All of our new specialists had completed their 6 hours of training, and that takes place, early on in the school year. So the training for staff that has occurred district-wide is that we do it at new staff orientation for all of our new hires. We do it on the September 5th date, and anti-bullying specialists are their resident in-house experts. You'll see additional trainings and programmings have been offered. That's just overview of some of our district-offered ones. So this is our quantitative data for trainings and programs at each school. You might see some variation between the buildings, and that's just timing. So we have our reporting period 1 that happens September to December, and then we'll have another reporting period January to June. So you'll just see variations of the data and as when things occur in each of the buildings. Each school has a school safety team. The anti-bullying specialists chair that school safety team. Those are comprised of the principal, assistant principal, teachers, and a parent. The purpose is to review and strengthen school climate and policies of the school. They review HIB data when available. And so they are meeting a minimum of twice a year, but they meet as often as needed. So those responsibilities are listed there. They specifically review the HIB data and look to identify patterns and determining programming within their building based on that. So this is our data from reported period 1. You see an incident total. According to this date, our incident total is only comprised of violence, vandalism, substance, weapons, and HIB confirmed. You'll see other incidents leading to removal, that column. That may include disrespect to staff or students. It may include inappropriate comments, misconduct, violations of school policy, acceptable use of technology. So those are just the other incidents columns, what would fall under that category. In addition to looking at just reporting period 1 from this school year, I thought it'd be interesting to also share in comparison to reporting period 1 of last school year. Mostly just the middle school and high school. I'm looking at tracking over the next few years. So this is your incident totals. This is violence, vandalism, substance, weapons, HIB confirmed. You can see that we are having a downward trend. But again, this is from September to December of last year compared to September of December this year. Even other incidents leading to removal, some of those other categories that I had mentioned, we're seeing a downward trend in there as well, pretty significant. And then HIB confirmed at this point this year, we have 0 HIB confirmed cases in comparison to last year at this time. And that is the full report.
Thank you, Ms. Della Fortuna. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Go ahead. I appreciate the year-over-year graph. I don't remember seeing that last year. And while you were talking, I was thinking about last year. So just thank you for thinking about what we were thinking about.
Absolutely. And in the next reporting period, I'll do the same thing. I'm going to try to track it over a couple of years. So I just looked at last year's this year. So I think it is important to notice those trends.
Thank you very much, Ms. Della Fortuna.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments? No? All right.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
for your
much.
efforts. All right. At this time, at 7:25, I'd like to open up our first of 2 public comment sessions for agenda items only. Please state your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes. Green.
Hi, my name is Alice Gomston. I live at 87 Spotswood Road in Glen Rock. I'm going to try to keep my comments brief. I'm here to request that the district consider instituting a math tutoring program at the middle school level. Such a program shouldn't rely on the labor of the school's math teachers, who already have enough on their plates, but independent tutors contracted with the district that would be available to students for free or at a nominal rate. The reason I'm asking is because I've heard from over a dozen fellow 8th grade parents that their students are having trouble in math for the first time this year. I understand that 8th grade algebra can be especially challenging because students are learning brand new concepts and that the district has already done some retooling of the middle school curriculum. But curricular changes can take time, and our students need help now, help beyond what their math teachers can fit in their schedules. It's an open secret that part of what keeps Glen Rock scores overall so high, in addition to our very talented teachers, is the fact that there's a pretty decent level of private tutoring that Glen Rock parents are willing to pay for. We ourselves have gone that route, and it's helped. It has. I'm uncomfortable, though, with the idea that we've created this system of haves and have-nots in this district. A student's ability to excel in math or anything really shouldn't be contingent on what their parents can afford to pay. That's why I'm asking that the district create its own math tutoring program to supplement what teachers have time to impart in the classroom. Is it a Band-Aid? I mean, frankly, yes, it is, but it's a Band-Aid worth putting in place until we can figure out how to make middle school math instruction more effective and accessible. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments at this time? All right. 7:28, if we can close our first public comment session. All right, can I have a motion to discuss the resolutions G1 through G15? All right, we have a Ms. Calvez, seconded by Mr. Hayward. Any comments on items G1 through G15? All right, at this time, if we can call roll.
Ms. Calvez,
Yes.
Ms. Carasola,
Yes.
Ms. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Ms. Scarpelli,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Ms. Rendell,
Yes.
Dr. Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, may I have a motion to discuss the items B1 through B9? Ms. Scarpelli, seconded by Ms. Carosella. All right, any discussion or any comments regarding B1 through B9? All right, we can call roll.
Ms. Calvez,
Yes.
Ms. Carasola,
Yes.
Ms. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Ms. Scarpelli,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Ms. Rendell,
Yes.
Dr. Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I need a motion to discuss items P1 through P19. That's an affirmative, Ms. Carr, and seconded by Ms. Rendell. All right. Any discussion for P1 through P19? No. Barring no discussion, if we can please call roll.
Ms. Calvez,
Yes.
Ms. Carasola,
Yes.
Ms. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Ms. Scarpelli,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Ms. Rendell,
Yes.
Dr. Robinson.
Yes, except for P19, I am abstaining from voting for myself.
Noted. Motion passes.
Thank you. And you'll see the vandalism, suspension, and HIB reports here below. And we also did just get this presentation. And that's it. At this time, 7:30, we would open public comments for our second session. This is for all items, including non-agenda items, 7:30. All right. 7:31, we will close public comments. and discuss old business.
So at the last board meeting, we had discussed the draft budget. And as I shared with the board, you've had that budget for about 3 weeks. The plan would be to discuss the draft budget again on March 4th, and then the board would approve a budget on March 18th, which would then go to the county office for approval. Once we get it back from the county, I believe the date is April 29th, where we would have a public hearing on the budget, and then the board would vote on the 24-25 budget officially. I thought tonight, while we certainly could talk about and have a conversation about the budget itself, separate from the budget were the capital projects. And I thought it might be good for the community and the board to see the rationale behind some of the some of the capital projects. So the first one up there on the screen is the culinary room, which is in the high school, middle school. It's really our middle school. It's really a middle school in the middle school curriculum. Students in grades 6, 7, and 8 take culinary classes. The proposal for the culinary room, which would be a withdrawal from capital reserve, is $748,000. And these are some images from the existing culinary room as it exists. As a reminder, the culinary room has not been updated since 1991. And again, just various images. We're not looking to create any additional stations. It would still have 5 stations in there. We're not looking to make it into a state-of-the-art, chop type kitchen, but it would be functional, would have stainless steel countertops and things along those lines. New appliances, obviously, ventilation. It's not going, Keith? Oh, there it goes, okay. Just in that, this is just a sample of a picture, but the handle had to be, a new handle had to be put on several years ago, which is a wooden handle. So the appliances themselves are beyond, we think, really a state of repair or need to be replaced. So that's the culinary room renovation, again, at $748,000. The other project was an elementary sink and counters and cabinets. Mr. Canellis, I thought, did a really nice job of identifying really the need for this and came up with a 3-year plan. So we didn't withdraw all the money from capital reserve in year 1. So for this year, we're looking to do 13 classrooms with a withdrawal from capital reserve of $195,000. Just a reminder that not every classroom in the elementary school has a sink or cabinet. And these are just samples. I think I have 2 from each building. Out of the 13 classrooms proposed, we would try to hit 2 or 3 in each of the buildings, and over the course of the 3 years, we'd be able to get them all done. And you can see the cabinets themselves are in disrepair, the sinks are in disrepair. There's even drapes and stuff and curtains in front of some of them. Oops. Next project was the high school. Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the pictures, and I'm wondering if the architect has any intention of, or is there an architect, or are we going straight with someone? Because I noticed that there's step stools in front of the sinks, and I'm just wondering if there's been a plan to identify that or address that?
we'll make a note of that and ask the architect.
Thank you.
The next one was the high school gym exterior concrete stairs. This would be, the replacement would be $131,000. It's both sets of stairs that come out of the gym, out of the high school gym. In particular, you could see here on the left and on the right, you can see wooden structures. Those wooden structures were built because the concrete debris was falling down. Our students exit from there to go out. And there's another picture of the wooden structure that we built. But you can see the concrete really is gone in certain spots. And there's another picture of the wooden structure underneath. And then just falling, in states of disrepair. Keith, can you just move it from there? And you can move it again. Perfect.
Sorry, Doctor. These things are coming up as I'm looking at them. Is there any, I just want to be sure, is there any specification that changes the size or the width or the risers? Or, I'm assuming this is in code now do you understand what I'm asking? I mean, they're going to be replaced the exact same?
Yeah, good.
The stairs are, I believe, under code, in compliance with code as they exist. They're just deteriorating. The architects have spec'd them out to be a like-kind replacement, and they will look essentially the same except for the railings, which I think they're coming up with a different kind of a railing system, and there'll be more protection for the stairs from oncoming traffic.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the lower turf field replacement and expansion. This came in at 1.129 million. It does include a 30-foot increase on both the length and width. So I'll go through those pictures here. The board has a couple of options. One is the cool play infill at 40,000, which Mr. Canellis has samples of it. The cool fill does keep the field cooler by about 35 degrees. And then the option for lights at $1.43 million. So going through these pictures, a couple of things. One is, I think I can use my laser here a little bit, is that this would go from the concrete all the way to the grate. So that's how the expansion would be on that end. And on this end, again, from the concrete all the way to the grate. So that's where you get your additional length. Again, a close-up of that. One of the things that I actually attended the spring coaches meeting today and talked about that I was going to share this with the board tonight, and it's one of the capital projects the board is considering, and in particular the expansion. And as I shared with the board before, the coaches had requested this really multiple times. They were very excited about the project. They did feel that it was a little bit of a safety concern, and in particular, they mentioned this idea here that the goals, half the goal is on grass, concrete, and then on the turf itself. So again, with the project, that would be gone, and it would go all the way back to the grate. And there's just the grate. So what we saw and what a lot of the complaints were would be students would be coming from grass to the concrete to the field, right, for like a corner kick and so on. And again, this is a good image here. Of course, my thing's not working really well, but you can see the goal is halfway on the field. Also over here, there was a lot of complaints about, you can tell it's a muddy area, it's where the benches are. That would be turf, and the turf again would go from the concrete to the fence line. Here you can see the temporary lights that are up. I think there were 7 that are out there to this, as of even now, those lights are still out there. And again, you can see, I think there's 3 in this row here. And again, whoops, back here. Again, this is a really tight right to go from the grass to the concrete to the corner kick. It's a better view there. Same picture. And I think that concludes that. So the total proposed capital reserve projects is 3.5 million. As the board's aware, we have about 7 million, which we estimate to put in about 500,000 conservatively into capital reserve at the end of this year. So it does leave you with a couple of $1 million for future projects. We shared with the board two options for capital reserve: the cool play infield, which I hope maybe you feel like your hands are much colder when you put your hands in there, and then a discussion on the lights. And then that's it for the capital projects. The pre-K expansion was withdrawn tonight. We really had to get moving on that, so we appreciate the board's support with that. The high school, middle school roof, and the Coleman roof, those are ROD grants that the board did at I think it was the January meeting. We already withdrew money for that. We would like to have the capital projects on the March 4th agenda. We typically don't like to do action items on CAL meetings, but because if we delay any longer, we just feel, and the architect has been really clear with us, as has the turf person, or a turf company, a person, that it'll be tight to get all of these projects done this summer. So we will not do the budget until March 18th and voting on it, but we would like to have consensus tonight on these projects and any possible options, so that we then can have these on the agenda for next week to vote on, so we can get started on these projects and start getting engineering and things like that. We're happy to listen to the discussion from the board.
All right. Ms. Carr?
You asked me, we had a rec advisory board meeting last week, and I was asked to get the data, as we asked to get the data from the school, on how much the field is used in the hours that lighting would be necessary. So I'm hoping that we'll receive that information tonight. But I did receive their numbers, and they, for a year's worth, they said about 330 hours. Obviously, soccer and lacrosse are supportive of the lights, but they're the only teams that use it. Soccer uses it 3 seasons, and lacrosse uses it 2 seasons. So, and they also mentioned, by the way, that since you were talking about that lower field, they mentioned that the back fence is very low, the one that's on the other side, the one that abuts Cornwall. So they just asked me to mention that since we were, and then what I need to go back to them, what would be the dates that you would be looking to do the turf?
We would want to start as soon as possible, so June 1st.
Oh, so it's going to be before the season, and, okay. No, I thought it was going to be after fall. Okay, so, okay, I have to let them know that.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. Any other, yes, Ms. Carr.
I just wanted to ask a follow-up. Did they indicate, the lights, the temporary lights that they have down there? What was their plan for when those would go away?
Well, I honestly didn't know that they were still there, and so now that I see that, I'm assuming that's a recent picture, so I was planning on,
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
There's been 5 down there for 3 years.
Yeah, my understanding was they're supposed to be removed after the season, so I have to now ask that as well,
Okay.
so.
And just for my own clarification, does everyone have access to those lights? There's a key, yeah.
Yeah. There's a key to
Soccer.
open it, and you have to pay for the gas, or oil, or whatever it is. that's
Okay.
used. I'll be honest, I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
So,
only because
yeah.
I saw
But it's
in that
only,
picture,
but,
it just said
but
Glen Rock Soccer Club, so I
it's
wasn't sure.
only the Shooting Stars and the soccer club that use it.
Okay. So
Because
then-
lacrosse uses the upper field when they need the lights. I'm sorry?
Lacrosse can't use it because their balls go too high and those lights
Yeah.
are terrible. So you can't play a game
Right.
down there with those
So
lights. You
they
can't
would be
practice.
more than thrilled, but,
Got it,
so, and yes, obviously, they're in supportive of the cooling gel.
yeah. In my opinion, the reduction in the heat for the players is a good benefit for our own students in our district, so that seems like an easy one. Ms. Scarpelli?
Yeah, there's no question in my mind to go with the cool play. if anyone has a child or you want to walk on the turf field in the summer, even in the spring, even in the early fall, it is extremely hot. So anything we can do to cool that for the kids, I think is great. And so I think it's worth the investment in that. I do have a question on the turf. So we're extending on the sidelines. So will those benches become permanent fixtures there, or will they still be movable, or will we have to get something that's safe on the turf? Just want to,
The benches would not be permanent, they'd be movable, and those benches that exist now are safe on the turf. Yeah.
Excellent.
Did anybody ask the neighbors their opinion on the lights or how they felt about having lights in their backyard? Because when the lights went up at the stadium field, it was a huge issue for the people living near it.
I can say no survey has gone out, aside from our board agendas and discussion and opening like that. No other
Conversation
surveys.
with them, we didn't reach out to them at all?
No.
And did
Because
we
there
get,
are, the aspect that would be changing, if we did elect to do this project, the lights are currently there. So they are in use, however they're in use, even if it's, selectively really right now for the soccer club. The lights that are currently there aren't really directional, and so this would actually be an upgrade.
Right, but these are going,
And the
they're
sound.
still going to be hard. I'm just
Yeah.
going by past what has happened. When the lights went in, it was a huge, huge issue. There was yelling at board meetings. It was just not a good situation. So trying to be proactive and just listen to the concerns that the neighbors have, and which is why now the lights are supposed to be off by 9 o'clock, because they spoke to the neighbors and they came to compromise, just to be proactive. The lights are going to be higher. I don't live there, so it really doesn't have any effect on me, but I just would like to know how the neighbors feel about it, if we're going to be good neighbors. And my other question is, do we have the data from the school on how often the fields are used at night?
I don't understand that question, data from the field and how often, we don't have lights that the school uses at night, so what's
Right.
the question?
Because the last,
yeah,
do you want to repeat?
so that actually answers it. So if we don't actually use those lights, it's actually 100% used by the rec leagues in town, soccer club and Shooting Stars, correct?
Yeah.
So I guess more importantly, we need to find out what is their plan, because my understanding was those lights were put down on the lower field because the town fields were going offline, and that was a temporary thing that we allowed them to do. So I just want to understand from Rec Advisory, what's the plan? If that's changed, then we need to have that information. I think that's-
so from the rec sitting there, the fields are inundated. I mean, there's an abundance of usage, and because they just put the lights on at Faber, they're readjusting, the usage for that. But my understanding is that the lights, and you were there before me, but the lights were, yes, a temporary, because there were no lights at Faber, but now there are Faber. So my understanding from sitting here and sitting there is we're talking about a 1 point, whatever investment that's solely for the benefit of the rec programs. And while I don't begrudge it, it's something that this board needs to really consider. And then going to Dr. Charleston's, so that was really the issue of, as far as who uses the fields. Now, the question becomes, if we were to invest in lights at the lower field, would our teams be able to better utilize or more utilize that lower field? And I think that's the question that was asked
Okay.
and hasn't been answered.
So in a moment, I'll ask Dr. Charleston, but I felt like those two things were kind of a little bit, when I say, I don't want to use the word contradictory, but if for instance, we do have lights and we now are able to have greater student usage of the field because we have those lights, and as opposed to the lights that are there that are currently, sourced by the Shooting Stars, it would like, it wouldn't, the benefit wouldn't solely be for rec programs in the town. Like, our district students would be able to have the usage of it. But I'll defer to Dr. Charleston for further.
So just like the stadium field, our students would have first priority on those fields, and my expectation is that we would play night games on there as the coaches wanted to better showcase our student athletes. It also provides another spot for our marching band to practice, which is hard for them to find a place to actually be able to get on a field and do that. So it gives us another couple of hours a day for practices. Probably would be beneficial if I was still coaching football. I would take advantage if I had more access to the fields at night in August during double sessions, so I can get in a cooler environment. So I think our students would get significant use out of it, but in addition, it would be a benefit for the community. It would be helped with the feeder programs, which in turn would eventually help the high school programs.
Thank you.
If you're asking me for a specific number of games and stuff, I can't give you that.
No, I think that was adequate. Thank you very much, Dr. Charleston. Ms. Rendell?
Well, there was a lot there. So I think the idea of lights down there 10 years ago is a whole different ballgame than it is now. The complaints that we have gotten have been about noise because they're generators. So that takes that complaint, the only complaint that the neighbors have really given. So I think that's good. I also object to it's the rec department, because those are our students also. They're all our students, always. So that I object to. And also those diesel lights are coming off anyway, the temporary lights, because if we did expand the field, they can't sit on there anymore. It's bad for them. So that's it.
Ms. Carr?
So I support what Sinead is saying, and I've always been like that. And yes, our feeder programs are. My concern is not about the students or the athletes, as Karen had said. So we may not have gotten, or we meaning the board may not have gotten any complaints. The rec committee has gotten complaints about the lights. And I met with your approval down at the lower field, and at that point, there were 7 lights, and there was no need for 7 lights, and so, I'm sorry, my back is to you. So, you know, we spoke with the soccer club, the Shooting Stars, and I spoke, and they were the ones who, like, realized that they didn't need 7 lights, they needed 4, which is what the proposal is. But again, I support lights. I'm very concerned about the height with the neighbors and their complaints, especially at a 9 p.m. shut-off. I mean, we have an automatic shut-off, but the warning track lights still stay on. I mean, there were contingencies that went into the lights at the upper field. And I supported that, and I support the lights, but I just have concerns that we have not said a word to any of the neighbors, and, you know, there wasn't a respect given to them, and I'm concerned that we're going to hear it from them. I agree with the noise. I agree with the traffic, like everything that has been said. I agree with, and I sit at a rec advisory committee, and I hear what they say. We have an abundance of athletes, and not enough fields. That is, it is what it is. But I would really have preferred that a letter had gone out to the neighbors saying that this is a proposed item in our capital reserve project. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Carr. Yes.
So listening to all of this, this project, like all the others, I think is a lot of significant upgrades for the district. And if we're going to do something, do it right. That's kind of how I see it. If they're currently using gas-generated lights that are going from 7 and we're proposing 4, I think that's in the right direction, number one. I think permanently installed is safer for the kids. If they're directional lights that can less leak out into the neighboring areas, I think that's a plus. And we should know the details of all that. So I mean, overall, I'm for all of it. I think the cold turf, of course, and I think this is correcting something that's been sort of a Band-Aid for the last several years. These gas lights are not ideal. So in my eyes, we're fixing something that's already there, and which I think I remember, it was supposed to be a temporary thing, right? They were supposed to leave off-season, and that obviously never happened. So the usage is huge. We know there's a ton of kids in town, and there's never enough field space, and I'm sure it would get used quite often, if not every day, with the school and with the rec. So to me, I think the need is great, so I think we should do the right thing and put it in.
Thank you, Mr. Hayward. Ms. Carosella?
I was just going to say I'm also supportive. I liked hearing how they, we could maybe extend some practice times later because of temperatures and just give those opportunities to our coaches and our students. And then I just wanted to clarify, using the existing lights wouldn't be an option on the expanded field. So I feel like we can't even do what we have right now. There'd be no lights or the lights. So I think that's kind of an important factor as well. And yes, and having young kids who are part of the rec and travel programs, I can attest to the challenges with field space. So it's exciting to have it.
Ms. Scarpelli?
So I too would like to at least hear from the neighbors that are along that wall back there that would be impacted the most by the lights. And I also really want to know what the rec advisory board, the goal was for those fields. Because again, it was my understanding that that was temporary because fields were going down. So if all the fields are not back up, then we're still going to need the lights for the rec programs. But if the fields are all up, we should go back to the way it was. Right? That's what I don't understand, but.
Can I answer?
Yes, Ms. Carr.
Well, yes, and my assumption is more playing time. There's there could be more teams one season. So I didn't know that those lights were supposed to be temporary. I can ask what their plan is, but their plan, as far as my understanding, is the temporary lights down there until someone said you can't. And nobody has said anything over the last 5 years, I guess, 5 years. I have three. I have no idea, so.
Their practice has proven the usage, right? They're using it. They're saying now, and if we
Well, they're
care enough to
using
put
it based
turf on
on,
the field, it sounds like
in
it's
School
important.
Dude, they're filling in.
It's valuable.
They're using School Dude, and they're filling in spots that are not being utilized by the high school, middle school. So if there's more spots open.
So this would just enable more spots, this whole project.
This is going to enable them to
Right.
more spots, but, just playing the devil's advocate, because I want everybody to be aware that the more playing time there is on a field, the more wear and tear, the sooner it's going to be replaced. So that is something that we have to, take into consideration. Well, we don't, but future boards will. So.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. If I Ms. Scarpelli?
Yeah, just one more question with the lights. At the last meeting, we said that actually could be done as a standalone project. Can you just elaborate so that way if if the majority of the board decides not to approve it right now and wants to take a little more time to think about it, what does that look like? And if they approve it right now, we start right away.
So standalone project means that it could be done separately from the turf project because they're off the turf. I had sent the picture, no, it's on the outside. So the two lights would be on the outside of the retaining wall, and then the other two would be near the concrete bleachers next to the 80-foot poles that are already there, right? Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be done when we redo the turf. Okay, thanks.
Just to say it out loud, I mean, if we're talking about timing, when we have the field ripped up, it would be cheaper to at least put in the piping and get it started while we're replacing a turf field than if you did it as a separate project. So you would be, in that sense, saving money.
Only if the conduits need to be put underneath the field.
I assume they are being put under the field.
No,
They're
they're
not
not.
at all?
He's just said they were going to be along the fence lines on the outside of the fence, so conduits wouldn't need to be under the field.
You could keep the existing turf right now and put lights on. And so it makes sense to do them both at the same time, I would say, but you also don't have to. So that's,
Okay. Any additional discussion for our capital projects? And then we can do just a straw poll to see where we're at. Okay, so overall, just the overall capital projects that Dr. Charleston has stated in his initial presentation. We'll do options separately. So just the projects that were stated on our main capital projects, if we can raise our hands, we have, okay, 1, 2. No, that's option. The option separately, 1. All right, so we are 8. And option for the coal fill. All right, we are unanimous. That's a big difference, yes. And for lights. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, all right. All right, so we actually do have consensus. I've listened to all of your comments regarding the neighbor involvement. And the way that I see it is that it is it's an improvement. It's not like we're taking a field that doesn't have, when I say doesn't have light, like we're not adding something that isn't a concept that's already in play. We're actually improving the quality of the lights that are there to be less disruptive. And we're also allowing, the biggest thing for us, while communication between all of our district and all of the members of our community is of high importance, we're still also primarily doing what we do for the kids. And that's why I do support the consensus that I see here. And I don't want you to feel like, your feelings are not being respected. I'm talking about the ones you're voicing. All right.
Me not wanting to do the lights right now doesn't mean I don't care about the kids. It has nothing to do with the kids. So I just want to make that clear, that my decisions are always driven by what I feel is best for the students, and then I take into consideration how it impacts the community. So I agree wholeheartedly that our kids being on fields benefits us. I just would like to make sure that the community surrounding the lights had been notified and had their ability to raise their concerns or say, we think it's a great idea and it's going to improve our property values, and go for it. So that's it. That's my only comment on it.
I just want to agree with Sharon. I care about the kids. I had 3 athletes that went through the school system, and I have 2 kids playing college sports. So I do care about the kids. But also, when I care about the kids, I think it's good to show them what it means to be a good citizen, and that means to care about our neighbors and to ask them and just let them know that this is going on. I'm not against the lights. I'm against not getting buy-in from the people that it's going to affect besides our children here. So I don't think anyone on this, I think everyone on this board cares about the kids.
Okay. So I don't mean to offend with that statement.
It was said a lot at the last meeting with the budget. Oh, this is good, it's for the kids, it's for the kids. But also what's good for kids is making sure that their parents can afford to stay in this town, keeping our taxes at a rate where people can afford to live here. That's also caring about the kids and making sure that they're able to stay in their homes. I don't mean to be dramatic about this, but by saying, oh, it's for the kids, insinuates those of us who don't care about them. And I think every single board member here cares greatly for the children and greatly for the town. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here.
All right. I appreciate that. And I would like to apologize if my, statements, rubbed you the wrong way. It was not my intention to suggest that any of the board members that were duly elected and that I respect sitting next to don't care about the kids. I'm merely talking about my own personal reasoning, being that I have to justify any kind of decision as president. But again, I'll be more cautious with the words that I use so that I don't offend. Okay. All right. Are there any other items under old business?
Yeah, so we will give an update on our equity action plan. Mr. Van Nest.
Thanks, Dr. Charleston. So wanted to just update us on where we stand with the equity action plan, kind of refresh our memory about where we started, where we're going, those kinds of things, because it's something that's been in the conversation lately, obviously. So if you remember back in 2021, we started administrators doing some training with a group called Third Cultures People with Yathis Johnson. And through him and a colleague of his, we worked with a steering committee through 21 and 22 to come up with the equity action plan. And that was something we presented to the board here. We had focus groups of teachers and staff and parents to really kind of reach out to the community. What are our needs? What are we focusing on? So we're not just throwing stuff out there, but actually really addressing the needs that were identified by the members of our community. So in our plan, there were basically 5 areas that we identified as areas that we wanted to concentrate on. So there were being a welcoming and representative community, having a representative curriculum, working on our bias incident response and prevention, professional development for our staff, and greater communication with the public and the community members. So I just want to list a few of the things we've done over the last couple of years and kind of talk about where we're headed, what we're doing now, those kinds of things. As far as welcoming and representative community work, we're still working on looking at the forms and handbooks and communication that we send out, and that, you know, when community members register their kids, and make sure that it is welcoming language, make sure that it is, everybody sees themselves in those forms. And that's an ongoing process that we're working on. We continue to work on staff representation. So we are continuing to partner with CJ Pride. We're continuing to look to diversify our staff, or make sure our hiring practices are welcoming and fair and supportive, and all of those things. When it comes to bias incident response and prevention, I mean, you just saw one today, the HIB presentations. Part of it is required work. Obviously, we have to present those things to you, but also really looking at, I mean, Ms. Della Fortuna did a nice job tonight of how are we moving forward each year. Let's compare, let's look at the data, let's use this as an introspective work, not just as a checking off things for the state. We have been focusing in the elementary schools on character education, especially with our ruler program, and empathy and understanding oneself and understanding one's emotions. And we're moving that up to the high school programming, obviously. Middle school is doing ruler. We're doing something with an organization called Challenge Success with our high school kids. So it's touching on a lot of that, working on that bias incident and prevention, especially. We continued to have, over a year or two, I think it was, Kane University Holocaust program, a number of our faculty, and I think even a couple parents enrolled in those courses, which was great, a nice community mix there. And we've done a lot of social studies, Holocaust lessons, and collaboration with the Jewish Student Union. For professional development and support, we continue to working with Yathis Johnson and his associate Karen for a while, but he actually has moved on. He's now in doctoral school, I think, and actually he shut down that branch of his company and the work he's doing. He's also a minister, I believe. So he moved on to other things, and we did as well. But we have brought in guest speakers for the staff. We are doing ongoing DE&I training. One of the things that I want to highlight, hopefully by Friday, it's going to be up and running. We are setting up a room. They came up with the name Quiet Quarters, which is in the high school, middle school building for staff. So we've had requests for a room for folks for prayer, or for meditation, or for nursing mothers for a lactation room. So we found a room that Mr. Canellis and Mr. Much and I searched for a nice, comfortable room. It's being painted today, I believe. We're going to be moving some comfortable furniture in there. Hopefully that we can make it a real comfortable, a nice, quiet quarter is what it's being called. So it's just part of the ongoing, how are we supporting our staff? How are we making this a welcoming place? How are we making this a place that is a good place to work, right? A good and comfortable place. With communication, one of the things we did do is set up a DE&I section of the website, which was part of our goal. and the ongoing role for the DE&I Steering Committee. So where are we, where are we going? A lot of the work that we've done this year really focuses on our middle school and high school No Place for Hate Committee. So that is a student organization. There's also staff and community members that are part of this. And it's really addressing the need that we had in Equity Action Plan for student group coordination. What are we all doing together as a collective? And also for staff training, and also for community coordination and outreach. So it's working out well. So I want to talk about a few of those. I think we're going to probably get Mr. Morelli in here in the next month or two to give you a better update about what's going on. You can see on the wall behind me, one of the things that we did is the No Place for Hate pledge and signing. So it was an activity school-wide that we had, well, you can see lots and lots of signatures of our students jumping on and saying, yes, this is no place for hate here. This is what we believe. This is what we're doing. And that activity was done, the signing pledge was the first of our 3 No Place for Hate activities. And it was done on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, or right around there, as part of a talk and collaboration about acceptance and diversity and all of those kinds of things. The second activity that has just happened, I believe, is the I Wish activity. So it's regarding awareness and acceptance. So it started at the high school. It's part of the Challenge Success program, but it's also, they did it in the middle school, I think in their advisory period, or maybe in one of the classes, I'm not sure. And the gist of it is, what is it that you as a student wish your parents knew about you? What is it that you wish your teachers knew about you? What is it that you wish your peers knew about you, right? So looking at those things about acceptance and awareness of the diversity that we have going on here. And we're starting to look at that and starting to address, some of those concerns and kind of help us make those connections with people, but also have them thinking about the connections among themselves. So it's nice. The third No Place for Hate activity is undefined right now, but we know kind of where it's going. So on March 7th, the New Jersey Division of Civil Rights is going to come here and do a training with groups of No Place for Hate students and the Social Justice Club. And the training is related to bystander, upstander kind of training. So what are you doing as a community member when you see something not right happening in there? How do you become a better upstander? How do you become a better ally? How do you become a better supporter of where we are and what's happening with that? I'm hoping that we might be moving this No Place for Hate initiative down to some of the elementary schools next year. It's been a nice thing. They're doing good work with it, and we're really proud of that. So that's where I wanted to just update you where we are. I know that you got some communication last week about a lot of the activities we've done over the last few years, but wanted to let you know. That's the end of my report.
All right. Thank you. I had a question with regards to that room that you were saying that was painted. Is it a room that allows multiple people to be in there at one time, or is it just like it's a lock off, like if you go in?
Yeah, it's going to be, you can sign out a time so you have private time in the room. And it's for staff only, obviously. It's not for students. But yeah, so there'll be I'm not sure how they're going to manage it, some sort of sign out sheet so that they can do that. And one of the main reasons that we have a deadline of coming up right now is that Ramadan is starting soon. And we have staff members who would like a quiet place, right? And that's important, of course.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Ms. Scarpelli.
I just want to thank you for all your efforts in this. It's a wonderful thing, given the climate in the world today. I think it's more important than ever that we have this, so thank you for putting this together for our students and staff.
All right.
The only thing I would add is I think we should, you should bring this up more, because I feel like that letter was so informative that was sent out, and a lot of people aren't always aware. So just a reminder of all the great work that's happening and all the thoughtfulness that's being put into it. It's kind of just good to have those reminders and point it out more.
Yeah. I appreciate that comment. It's unfortunate that another incident is what prompted just a kind of a mass telling and a collection of what it is that we're trying to instill in our students and our community. But I appreciate the efforts of the district to keep this a district that is safe for all children, as much as we have the ability to control that. Thank you. All right. But, yes.
I just want to say thank you also for your efforts. I mean, I think sometimes when you're working in a school and you just do all these things, you forget everything that we're doing. And school should be a safe place for all people. And as a mother of children who are not white, I appreciate that they would know that this was a safe place for them, and any child who may, be from one of those other groups where there's hate thrown at them. It's important that we do our part. It's important for us to stop and say, wow, there is a lot being done, and I just want to let you know I appreciate it.
All right. On to new business, the climate survey.
So I shared with the board the student questions for the proposed climate survey. Just as a reminder to the board and the community, we ran a survey, I believe, in October of '22, presented that data probably around this time last year, maybe it got pushed back to April. In meeting with the Culture and Climate Committee, we'd like to run this similar survey in April. This would go out to students in grades 3 through 12, all parents and all staff. Again, this is affiliated with Rutgers. I shared with you, again, the student questions that are broken down in grades 3 through 5, and then different questions for students in grades 6 through 12. In particular, I had shared with the board certain questions. I wanted to make sure that you were okay with those questions going out. The administrative team is, the Culture, Climate and Culture Committee team is, but just wanted to get your thoughts on that and on the survey itself as well.
Are there any comments or questions with regards to the survey? Nope. So we support the district's recommendation and the administration's recommendation.
All right, so we'll get, we'll share more at the March Cow and the April, when's the April Cow? Is it April 12th or something? Anyway, it might be April 8th actually, so it might go out that day of April 8th as the April Cow. So we'll share more information as we get closer. We'll start working on our climate, our building level climate and culture teams. And because we've already analyzed the data from the last time, it will not take as long for us to dive into this data. And my hope is that in May, we can share the data from this, this survey and compare it to October of 22 and see where we've improved, where we haven't, and things along those lines. The next thing is the New Jersey Teacher Climate and Culture Innovation Grant Opportunity. This came across our desk in the middle of last week from the Department of Education. It was a broadcast. After reviewing it with Mr. Van Nest, he and his team wanted to move forward with it. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Van Nest to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so thanks. This did come across our desk recently, and it's got a short turnaround time. We have to apply by March 14th, so we are on it. So just kind of tell you what this grant's about. It's called the Teacher Climate and Culture Innovation Notice of Grant Opportunity. It's due on March 14th. We are going to have on next meeting, on next Monday, an agenda item for you to approve submission of it because it needs to happen soon. So again, we don't like it on cows to have resolutions, but we're going to need this one next week. So what the grant is it's designed to have us as a district create policies, programs, guidance, and equivalencies, PPGEs, to reclaim teacher time, reduce administrative paperwork and other tasks. They should be able to be shared and replicated in other districts. So the idea is like take it and make it portable to other districts. We need a plan to implement and measure the impact of these PPGEs. They're asking us to explore innovation, improving teacher climate and culture, empower outstanding educators, those kinds of things. So we have been, as you know, for the last year or so, especially when we were talking about educator bandwidth last year, thinking about what are the ways to take things off of teachers' plates, right? So we've been working on that. So this is going to push us to move a little farther and think more innovatively about what we're doing. So I met with a team of people on Friday. We talked about the kind of the needs that we see, some concerns that we're hearing from teachers, and it really kind of landed on three main topics that we're going to still continue to unpack. So I'm not sharing those right now because I'm not really sure where they're gonna land. But we're meeting again this week a couple times, so we'll have some more concrete ideas then. One of the things that in our discussion on Friday is I think there's going to be considerable overlap between this and some of the work that last time I mentioned we're going to be doing. You know, if you remember, the supervisors were here presenting about the district goals, and assessment has been one of our goals, and I kind of hinted heavily that we're going to be moving towards looking at systems of support for students. How are the assessments showing us where do we need to target supports? How do we need to strengthen maybe our INRS process, child study team referral process, basic skills, all of those kinds of things. So we're starting to kind of look at that. And I think that there's some room for overlap with this grant of if we make those systems more streamlined and more easily accessible and manageable by teachers, that would be an innovative way of reducing the time load on them, right? If I'm a teacher and I have to go gather all of this information by hand for a student referral versus if I have some more streamlined thing, that is something that could be lessened, is the direction that we're kind of thinking. So either way, we're going down that path of looking at INRS and all of those things. This might be another lens of doing that and maybe some financial support for doing so. So that's kind of where I'm looking right now. I'm meeting with, I'm meeting with a lot of people this week. So we should have some more ideas, more concrete ideas, certainly by the 14th when I submit the grant. So it'll be me and my team. We'll be getting on that. I have a smaller grant writing team meeting this week to kind of narrow the focus, articulate our purpose and proposed outcomes. We have to plan out the roles for who's writing what in the grant. I'll have the board approval to submit the grant on the 4th, and we'll submit it by the 14th. So the other real time, it's a very tight grant in every respect because the money has to be spent between May 1st and December 31st of this year. So it's a real short, like, get it done. We are eligible to apply for up to $200,000 for a district our size. I don't imagine we're going to ask for that much because I don't know how I would spend that much, honestly. Like, grants are very specific about how you spend it. So, and the other piece about it is if we're trying to come up with innovative practices that any district could do, it can't be, oh, buy this really expensive thing. Or we don't want to lock ourselves into that because what do we do next year when we no longer have it? So that's kind of the thinking. We don't want to drive ourselves over any fiscal cliffs here, but that's where we are. So I just want to let you know where we are with that. We will be applying for this. I'll be asking you for the, approving the submission next week, and we'll see what happens.
We attended what was it, on Tuesday the 20th? Yeah. Tuesday 20th, they had a grant information webinar that the DOE ran, and there were a lot of districts in attendance. So what was it, $2 million total, I think, is the grant. And there's different tiers, as Greg had shared. So we'll see which one we apply for. It's a competitive grant, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. Right? Just as a reminder, because I know Greg has said it a couple of times, as have I, on the next agenda, there will be capital reserve resolutions to withdraw the monies for the architects and for the projects, and this resolution for the grant. We don't anticipate at this time any other resolutions that we're aware of, but those two would be on there, or those two topics.
I have actually an additional thing that I want to bring up for new business. Part of my goal in presidency was really just kind of finding a way to like team build and connect and like find ways for us to have, either greater professional development and building our team and getting a better understanding of what it is that we do, what things that we thought we knew that we don't know, and what the vice versa. Like I'm actually still learning a lot as I'm going. So I was in contact with Matt Lee, who is our field rep, and expressing like the thoughts that I had about our board and directions that we could go. And he said it sounded much more like we were trying to go towards a certified board process, which is like a 2-year process that I think that we could greatly benefit from. It would entail like a series of like professional development topics that were pertinent to our district and just really help us to build, maybe help to enhance communication between us and our community so that they have a better understanding of what we do, as well as us just being more reaffirmed in what it is that we currently do. Additionally, I was thinking that what we traditionally have as a board retreat, I think we would actually benefit from a true retreat, like where we team build, like, you know, it doesn't have to be a very long time, but just something separate from like our district and board goals and things like that, where we really just come together and are, you know, we'd obviously publicize the date of the meeting, but not necessarily the location. It would have to remain closed. But I think that that would be of great benefit. So I wanted to bring that to you first and see what you think about it, and any comments, questions, things that I can get back to you on. Yay, nay? Oh, yes.
No,
Ms.
I think
Scarpelli.
it's a wonderful idea. I fully support it.
Thank you, Ms. Scarpelli.
Me too. When I go to the trainings for the state, I always think that we're actually really great compared to a lot of the nutty boards. Sorry to any nutty boards listening. But I think there's always room for improvement. I think there's always room for growth. And when I heard we were having a retreat, I actually thought we were going like a cabin somewhere in the Poconos. So when I heard it was here, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So if we're doing more team building, I think that that works into the retreat mentality and could be a great way to grow as a unit. So supportive.
Great. All right. All right, that, what? Oh, I thought you said something, sorry. All right, at that point, our next meeting date is March 4th. Oh, yes.
Since, I don't know if this new business, old business, but it's about the budget, and since it's going to be on the agenda, respectfully requesting that either all the cap reserve projects be separated out so we can vote on them individually, or as we did tonight, since that was a true representation of how we plan on voting, if you could just take the lights out of the general, because I don't want to have to abstain on all the capital reserve projects because I'm abstaining on one, because I do support all the rest of them.
Okay.
So I'm just.
They're listed individually.
I'm sorry?
They're listed individually.
Oh, awesome, thank you.
All right. Our next meeting date is March 4th, and I need a motion to adjourn our meeting. Ms. Carosella, seconded by Mr. Hayward. I didn't see who was first. All in favor? Aye. All abstain.